Welcome back to Dicking Around Outdoors. You know, we are really advocates here on the channel of the buy once, cry once philosophy. Basically, if you're going to buy outdoor gear that you're going to rely on when you're out and away from everybody else and help and something, you don't want items that are going to fail and break. So you try to buy the best you can. But every now and then, something comes along and you look at it and you say, I wonder if that's even worth taking a shot at. Recently, we found an item like that we just said, what the heck, let's just give it a shot. Let's see if it works. So let me show you what that is. We're going to do a review of it today. So the product that we found does solve an issue that we have at camp. Normally we use something like shower pouches and that sort of thing to stay clean at camp, but you can't wash your hair with a shower pouch. So you're sort of washing your hair, dumping water on your head. It's not a very efficient way to do it. So we've always thought it'd be kind of nice to have a shower or something, but the weight, the complexity of some of the units out there just don't fit our style. But we found this on Amazon, the Wadeo Portable Camp Shower. So this camp shower system rings a bell at about 42 bucks on Amazon. It's a rechargeable 6,000 milliamp hour battery. Essentially what it is, it's a submersible pump with a couple heads that you can use to spray at camp. So calling it a shower, maybe a stretch, but let's have a look and see what's inside the box. And I will say that we have already opened this once just out of curiosity, and we wanted to charge it up. So what is in this box? Basically, you have a little mesh carry case, the hose, the pump itself, and as I said, we've recharged this, recharge cable, a small spray head, and the large, ever so lovely colored shower head, as well as a multi-hanger type system. I'm not sure what we would hang this on our vehicle, but it does have a system if you want to try to hang it, and the instruction book. So let's put this together and see how it works. In reading the instructions, it does say to ensure that you put the washers inside of the hose. We noticed that there are already washers in it, and they give you 2 extras, which is nice. And that's nice because they're clear washers. They're not the standard sort of black that comes in a hose, which means that if you drop it, there is a chance that you may have difficulty finding it. And the hose does come with caps on it. I'm going to take one cap off at a time and screw in the unit simply because I don't want to lose that washer. All right, and let's try the standard spray head first. See what kind of spray pattern we get out of this. And as you can tell, this does not come with its own water supply, so you do have to have a bucket or something like that. I think it's size that you could put this down into a 5-gallon Scepter water jug, which is what we use, so we could use it for that. But I happen to just have a bucket over here of water. So let's submerge this, turn it on, and see what we get. And before you submerge this, it does say again and emphasize, close the plug on the recharge port so you don't get water inside of it. So what you do is you just submerge this pump. It does have a few little small suction cups at the bottom. You let the air bubble out, then you hold down the power for 3 seconds. And as you can see, once you turn this on, there are 2 displays that come up. The one on the left is the battery percentage. The one on the right is the water temp. Now honestly, I'm not really sure what the water temp gauge is for, because this unit does not have an internal heating element. So essentially, that's just measuring the temperature of the water in the bucket, which you would already sort of have a good handle on because you've had to put your hand into the water to turn on the pump. So Maybe it's nice to know that our water is now at 81 degrees. You know, if you want to make sure when you're warming up the water or something like that, that you get it to the temperature you like. But it's really not a gauge that allows you to do anything about. So it's now pumping. Let's see what we get for a spray. And although not as powerful as a garden hose, it's a pretty decent little spray. I'm going to spray it back into the bucket here so we don't lose all our water. So I see this actually is a pretty nice little unit. It's giving us a good spray. I think this would work really well at a dishwashing station, a hand washing station, something like that. So I think there is some benefit. So let's turn this off. Let's put the shower head on and let's see what the shower head does. All right, we've installed the shower head. Let's turn the pump back on. And we got a leak, so let's turn the pump off, resolve that little issue. Okay, so I've taken this off, I've retightened it, I've ensured that the gasket is in there. I've tightened it as much as I can now with wet hands. You can see it doesn't go all the way to the top, so maybe if I had a pair of pliers or a wrench, I could tighten this more, although I'm always loath to use tools on plastic because you can very easily damage it. We still got a leak. I'm pretty wet from the leak, but we're going to go ahead and just say this is what we could do without any tools. I'm going to turn this on. We're clearly not going to get a good spray, so I think now is where you're seeing the price value ratio come into play. So let's turn this back on. We still got a little bit of a leak coming out of our hose, but we do have a decent flow. Somewhere I was supposed to have pushed this button, but I never pushed it. And that turns off the flow. There's a button on the front that fast or slow, but there's no way to actually turn it on and off. So you've got a nice little spray. It's a more gentle spray than the other. This is leaking. If we wanted to tighten this a little tighter, we could. This, in my mind, does nothing. And you can use this button to reduce the flow but not turn it off. So the spray head, I think, worked really well. The shower head, I would say, is a little bit of a different animal. Again, I think we could tighten this up a little bit more with a tool. Just got to make sure that you don't destroy it in the process. So we're going to go ahead and turn this off. We're going to go get a tool just to try it because I don't want to totally degrade this without actually trying to fix it. So let me go do that and I'll be right back. All right, we use our crescent wrench. We've tightened it as much as we can. I fear if I try to go any tighter, it's just going to destroy this coupling. So let's see if that resolved our problem. I'm going to turn this down to low. Let's turn this pump back on. And yes, now we have no leak. So you do need a tool to get that tightened off. Wet hands aren't helping. Now I see we have enough water pressure in here. It's pushed this open button out. So you press the button in. I have it set on high, I think. Let's turn it to low and high. And if you want to turn it off, you just press it back. So you need the water pressure in the shower head to make it work. Once you get that, using a tool, or maybe you have a better grip than I have, this thing works as it says it should. So, camera lady, time for a shower. Another feature of the pump that I think is pretty useful is it has a high gear and a low gear, which means that it's going to consume battery faster or lower depending on the flow you want. So the way you use that is you turn the pump on. If you turn the pump on, you can see, maybe you can see, hopefully you can see that the power button is turned green, and that is high flow. If you push it again, the power button turns red, which means it's on low flow. And if you want to go back and forth, you just push the button again, high, low. And then to turn it off, you just hold the button down. If you look at the temperature readout on the right, you'll notice next to it is a little blue light. And the color of that light changes depending on the temperature of the water. And again, I'm not so sure how useful that temperature readout is, but it is a feature of the unit. So let's compare the flow rates between high and low gear. All right, the flow on high, and again, you get a pretty decent flow. Now if we want to change that to low, it drops it pretty dramatically. And the benefit of that is battery life. So if you don't need that high flow, if you're just rinsing dishes or something like that, you put it on low flow and you will get, according to the manufacturer, between 2 and 2.5 hours of battery life on one charge. If you're using the high flow, you get between 1.5 hours and 2 hours of battery life. So a pretty substantial increase in the lifespan of the charge if you're using the low flow. I think that's a very useful feature. So at the end of the day, what's my take on the Wadeo Portable Camp Shower? Well, I mean, I think it's a cheap little unit, and there's no getting around the fact it's $42 submersible pump, hose, and a couple fittings. Now, having said that, is that a bad thing? Not really. You have running water at camp. You've got a rechargeable, portable pump. So some of the other uses, you could use this to wash your feet off at the beach. You could rinse your dog off at camp. Water your flowers if you're on a patio or something like that and you don't want to string out a hose. You know, there's just a lot of different ways to use something like this that, you know, for $42, it makes it pretty useful. Again, we probably will use it more at camp, but anyway, just some other ideas that, you know, ways to use it. So what are the downsides? You know, I don't know how long this is going to last. For $42, I'm not exactly concerned about how long it's going to last, but you know, it is a concern. You have to supply your own water, which means you have to have either a scepter jug or a bucket or something like that, and the water to do it. It does come with a filter inside of the intake. It's going to be for big things. So if you wanted to use clear water and filter it from a stream or something, you could do that easy enough. One other thing that I do want to mention on the sort of negative side, if you have to use a tool to tighten that shower head up every time, you do run the risk of sort of damaging the threads or just as likely stripping away the flat parts of the coupler. So you could damage it that way, so you have to be pretty careful with that. But other than that, I mean, I think it works. It beat my expectations. I didn't expect it to work as well as it did. So anyway, check out the Wadeo Portable Camp Shower. You may be pleasantly surprised. And there is a link below in the description if you want to check this out on Amazon. And if you like this kind of content and learning about new camping gadgets, please take a moment to hit that sub button in the lower right-hand corner. Share this content with your like-minded friends. Give us a thumbs up. And as always, take care, and we'll see you outdoors.